Trevor's unavailable right now, and rather than sit around waiting for him to return, I'm heading out on my own for a series of shorter conversations with authors, creators, and other interesting people. Think of it as a typical no-win scenario episode, just with fewer arguments, less supervision, and no Trevor to stop me. Welcome to No-Win Scenario presents Don's Away Mission. And don't worry, Trevor will be back soon.
I haven't listened to anything you've said in the last 20 seconds.
Damn it, Trevor. We had a shtick.
Line.
Two friends who hate each other.
Rude.
Talking science fiction.
It has become this cultural phenomenon.
Along with some special guests.
I appreciate what Star Trek did to me.
I would love to have this book get banned.
That wasn't acting. That was real.
Do you know what our YouTube channel is?
Absolutely not. No win scenario.
With Trevor and Don.
Okay, we're not doing that.
Boom.
Welcome to No-Win Scenario presents Don's Away Mission, the series I created specifically because Trevor wasn't available. So naturally, Trevor decided to join today. So apparently this is less of an away mission and more of a scheduling failure. Either way, we've got a great guest and fewer excuses than usual, and about 30 minutes to talk sci-fi, storytelling, and whatever else is on Trevor's mind. So let's get into it.
Did you write that, or did you have AI write? Because that is
of course I had AI write that. That's why I'm bumbling all over it, Trevor. You're ruining
really,
everything. You're ruining everything.
Really, really bad. It reminds me.
I thought it was hysterical.
Really bad.
Is that all you got to contribute? You've been sick for a week.
I was going to take a dig at your book, but then I held back.
You mean this book? No. Okay. Here we go. Anyway, can we get to our guest, please?
Yeah, please.
You want to do the intro?
You've got it. I mean, the writing has been so good so far. Let's see how much we can offend our guest.
Well, for 20 years, and I hope he tells me if this is any of this is inaccurate, but for 20 years, our guest's job was to make other people's stories real. He won an Emmy for Revision Tomb Raider, directed Sir Ben Kingsley and Dominic Monaghan. I can never say his name. Help me out.
Monaghan,
excuse me. In Audible's Moriarty, EP'd The Sisters Grimm for Apple TV, and spent 6 years as a development exec at Amazon. He was very good at it. And then he did the terrifying thing. He wrote a story of his own and put his name on it, a science fiction story called Into the Great. And Elliot Blake is here to talk with us about it. Elliot, thanks so much for coming and enduring Trevor's presence.
Well, thanks for having me. And Trevor, I maybe by the end of this, we'll be on the same team. Right now, I am not taking sides, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well,
if you're taking my side.
Most people do. I'm the ham and he's the realist. But actually, that's great because if people go to our new website, there's a little slider and you could choose what side you're on between Team Trevor and Team Don. My kids usually pick Trevor's just to make him feel better because they have sympathy for him. Anyway, Elliot, so you spent a career making other people's stories real. Why now? Why create something now? And what have you created?
I've created, and here, this is maybe a no-win scenario exclusive that I'm giving you because these just arrived from my publisher in Sweden, a little factory. And so I just recorded an unboxing video, which I have to put together. I was told by my daughter I had to do one. Gen Z knows better than me. So this is Into the Great. This is a sci-fi romance story that is about two people from opposite sides of the law who are kind of stuck in situations that they long to escape, who find a way forward in control of their own destinies with each other. And it's set against this backdrop of a sort of alien invasion, except of Earth space. So it's set very far in the future. And these aliens, they're these godlike, invulnerable, humanoid aliens that don't say a word. They just show up and stare at people, and so it's very destabilizing. And
like Trevor, by the way, he just sits there and stares and judges. So
shows up and stares at people.
It's terrifying. Please.
I feel the gaze. And it's so that's the backdrop of the story, and it's sort of really about kind of choosing the life you want to live in a time of unprecedented change that's beyond your control, and maybe it was a little bit inspired by what we're going through now. So
I was going to say that because there's two things in what you said. One is you have this like interest between two people on opposite sides, right? So you've got this sort of relationship that's forbidden. I don't know if that's drawn from something. I'm curious. And then, yeah,
It's not.
the rapid change. It's not.
Yeah.
There's no Romeo and Juliet. It's, yeah.
No, there isn't. But the rapid change thing is very real.
Yeah, so talk about that, because that's something that I bring up in my book too when I'm talking about it. That for me, it's right now is the rate of technological advancement, especially around AI and related fields, is so dramatic that it's affecting the stories that we're telling, and it affected my book. So I'm curious at how it plays in your story.
It's less about the AI of it all, although that is definitely always in the back of my mind these days, and more about just like the way that we're rapidly changing the planet, and with climate change, and then also just I think the destabilization of our own democracy that we're witnessing happening right now, that since the beginning of the second Trump administration. That's when I started writing this, and as I was writing it, I was kind of experiencing this. I guess a cognitive dissonance of being able to kind of lose myself in this science fiction world, and while at the same time all this stuff was starting to happen that I just didn't agree with, and a lot of people don't agree with, and I don't think I totally realized that's what I was writing about until I was probably, I don't know, second draft, and one of the editors asked me if we've been talking about that, and he said, "Well, isn't that what you're writing about?" And then I suddenly realized it was. So yeah, and I think, you guys know, you're science fiction nerds like me, is that the best science fiction, and I'm not saying this is the best science fiction, although I do think it's pretty good. It's about now. It's about what we're going through now. It's a way to process current our current times. So
Yeah, yeah.
But you as an artist, um, I'm not trying to take away, by asking this question, I'm not trying to take away your creative, I don't know, force behind it. But do you think now is a particular time, not just for what this book deals with, but for you to write this book? Meaning, was it easier with everything that's going on to dissociate from today's world and to go into another world, a book to create?
I don't know if it was easier, but I was certainly grateful to be able to do it, to be able to do that, to be able to kind of take my eyes away from the things that I was doom scrolling through, and not do that, and have an escape. So yeah, I kind of feel like I would have been able to write this story anyway, but that maybe it would have been maybe it would have been different. I mean, alternate universe Elliot maybe knows, mirror universe Elliot, who doesn't have a beard. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, but that was definitely, as you said, as I said, I was grateful to have the distraction.
I'd love to run something by you. And before I go into my context, the ultimate question is: could you have written this story at any other time, or does it make sense that it's coming out now? Which I think you were hinting at. One of the things that I've been talking on podcasts and some work I've been doing on my end was sort of looking at science fiction from post World War II to now, and how there's these different like stories that are made in these different eras. So just very quickly, like there was the fear of like atomic bomb and communism, and then it turned into like fear of like environmental and concerns with like Soylent Green, and you have Alien Nation with like race, and then it became everything leading up to Y2K, and there was this conspiracy that we couldn't see, that the world was going to fall apart. And then I go into a nostalgia thing that turns into when 9/11 happened, it became about the apocalypse, and all the stories were about, do we need to survive? Like, what does it mean to survive after the apocalypse is here? Then it became like sci-fi with like a religious tilt, right? Like the Lost endings and even the Battlestar endings in shows. And then I skipped over by accident, like Terminator, right? Like the AI, the machines are going to take over because they're nefarious. Right now, the technology is not what we're afraid of. It's like the people behind the technology, like the people who are creating, the few billionaires and trillionaire that are creating technology that affects us, are the ones whose plans are actually coming to fruition, and that they're affecting us in a way we don't like. And so part of what I'm looking at is like, are there stories, the stories that are coming out now in the near future about that fear? So I'm wondering, how that sits with you, just from me, someone who's studying it, but also like, do you see your own work kind of in that landscape where it wouldn't quite be the same as if it was 20 years ago or 40 years ago?
I definitely think it's influenced by that. By the period that we're in. I mean, this is actually the second time I've written this story, and the original incarnation of it was a comic book, and the best incarnation of it is this version of it now. I mean, I think, when I originally wrote it, gosh. Yeah, it was about 10 years ago, and foolishly tried kickstarting it right before the 2016 election. So and just nobody was paying attention. Sitting with it for another 10 years, and then getting the opportunity to write it, because I knew the publisher is, in full disclosure, is a friend. We worked we were consultants together at a video game company, and I was a creative consultant. He was the business consultant, but we hit it off, and he after we were done with that gig, he said, "Hey, I'm starting up this boutique publisher to publish the kind of sci-fi stories that I love, and so if you have anything, let me know." And Into the Great kind of immediately came back, because I also have a hard time letting go of stories that I come up with and come very close to, you know seeing through to fruition. And I really wanted to see if I could do this, uh, because also I hadn't written prose since I was in college. I mean, this is, I had to kind of reteach myself how to do it, and or because when I think, I know, Don, you're in media. You're writing scripts. Everything is present tense, and it's all, you're not necessarily in the characters' heads. I mean, you may be, but that's not how the story is
That's
being
not how
portrayed.
yeah, I mean, that was the hardest thing for me. It's like I
Right.
originally wrote a screenplay for my story, and it took years and years to write it out, basically to make a novelization of it, because it was so painful versus I'm used to, script
That
writing.
screenplay is painful.
Well,
It's
that
painful,
screenplay was
all
bad.
right.
The screenplay
It's
was bad. I wrote
painful.
it when I was in my 20s, so it took 10 years is nothing. I've been working on this for 20 years, so
Excuses.
Oh yeah. The things you learn, about storytelling, with age, and practice, it's kind of amazing. But but yeah, like but like all of those things that you were talking about, like especially now, it's like, the corporations that don't necessarily have people's best interests in mind, and filtered into the book, I mean, in a very blatant way. I mean, there's a company, uh, the big government that runs the Federated Solar Republic, is in my story, is kind of a hybrid, public government, corporate government, and that is partially owned by this giant corporation called Stellaris. And they just kind of, they're a background player in the thing, but they own all the transport ships. They own the coffee shop. They own people, basically, because they own the contracts of people that work on their colonies. And so yeah, all those things, definitely, those fears about who's really going to be in charge, definitely are a factor. And I don't know. I mean, and those things were not in the original incarnation of the story.
Well, first of all, the FSR reminds me of, you ever listen to Rush's 2112? I don't know if you know this, like, rock space opera song they have the
No,
Solar
no.
Federation. Love it. Anyway, check it out. But that's not my question. My question is the book the end goal, or you work in other media? Like, are you looking
Yes.
to take this and then turn this into a show, a movie, an audiobook? Like, or is the book the goal?
Yes, and the book. I mean, the book itself was the goal. Like, if it doesn't go any further, I'm very happy that, if this is the story, the version of it that goes out there into the world, and it's the only version, I'll be very pleased with that. I do have an idea for how to expand it into a full novel, because this is 134 pages. It's it's a novella, and I definitely have some ideas on how to do that. And but what I'm currently working on, well, I've done the script for the audiobook version, and trying to convince my friends. I don't have people. I have an attorney, but I don't have people.
I have an
I'm
attorney
trying
just
to.
because of Trevor. He's the only reason I have an attorney.
I believe it. I would love it if my friends at Audible, read this and say, okay, yeah, well, let's make this into an Audible original. That would be lovely if you're listening. But I'm also working on a screen version of it right now. So it occurred to me one day, like just hit me. I was taking a walk. I was like, oh, I think I know how to do this as an animated feature for adults. And I've been in the animation business for 30 years, and that's really my I know it well, and I know the ins and outs. I know how to do it that way. Look, if somebody came along and said they wanted to make a movie, like a live action movie, with, gosh, I don't know. I haven't really gone in for the dream casting yet.
Well, apparently the only
For the
person who
roles.
could be in movies is Ryan Gosling and Tom Holland and Zendaya.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I actually really like Riz Ahmed.
Yeah, I like him.
He's great. Himesh Patel, also great. They'd be great leads for this.
Nice.
But I'm writing the animated version of it right now, animated feature. And we'll see. But that's something I'd like to do. I'm writing it for myself to direct, or at least co-direct. I'm not an artist, so I would definitely need to have another visual artist, animation director co-direct it with me.
Now, but why did you? And then I'll let Trevor speak. But why did you make it a novella? Was that just it was novella by the end of it, or that was the intent?
That was the intent. Part of it was because David Polfelt, my publisher, he was looking for short stories, so that he could put out, like novella length stories, and so I felt like, as I was experimenting with the prose version of it, like that wound up being, the length of the story and what I wanted to say wound up kind of coinciding nicely. But mine is definitely like the longest of all of them. I think probably by I think I'm probably 50% longer than the longest one that he had previously published. So there's 4 books now in the line, and they run in, from like 50 pages to 130, which is mine. And I think he's looking to do some longer form stuff next.
Well, speaking of short, Trevor.
Can you do me a favor, Elliot? Could you hold up the book again?
Yeah, be my pleasure.
Again, and I would like to point out that he said it was a no-win scenario exclusive, that he just got it and shared it. I had nothing to do with it.
I did, like, literally just like half an hour before I was scheduled to come on. I was taking the dog out, and I saw the mailman, and I looked, and I knew that the books were coming today, and sure enough, he had 2 boxes, and it was glorious. So I immediately, brought the dog back in the house, ran outside, got the boxes, immediately shot some video for the unboxing. And so yes, I'm very pleased to present it here exclusively for you guys. I'm just
Trevor
thrilled. I
out of
mean,
bed.
yeah. No, I'm just thrilled. I mean, it's really cool to have your own, to finally be able to hold
have it in your hand after you typing away at it.
And I will say, like, all these books, like, they're like the way they're printed and everything is kind of part of the sales pitch. They're limited edition, so there's only 500 of these, and they're on they're cloth wrapped covers, and he's printed on this really just beautiful thick paper, and so they're great. They smell great. They're really cool. They're great. They're great to have on the shelf, and they're good reads.
And how do people get it? What's the best way to order one?
The best way, you can pre-order them now at the publisher website, lilfac.com. That's LILFAC.com. And there's go to the shop page, and you can pre-order.
So the reason I was asking you to hold up the cover, the book again, is because I was on your site.
Okay.
And
I thought he was about to make fun of me. I'm sorry. I said, "Oh
No,
God,"
I was
for
looking
people
at the
listening.
book, and I have to say that that is one of that is one of the best covers to a book I've seen in a while. And I'm not just saying that because you're our guest. I looked at that cover for a while, and it is the proper balance of minimalism and design, and it looks great. How I know your passion is in the prose inside, but how much art direction did you have with that cover?
Almost none. I made one suggestion that my publisher didn't take, and
Sounds
and I
right.
think it's for the best.
Yeah.
No, the cover and all of the aesthetics of the book and of the line were all designed by by the publisher David Polfelt. Yeah, and it does. It just looks great. I mean,
No, it really
I
does.
also love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah,
it looks
I also
great.
love it.
I'd love to
Thank you.
ask you just one more influence question. You talked about, the current state of the world, but like what are your influences? Like were there sci-fi influences growing up? Like what kind of was embedded in the story in your own
I
history?
definitely. I mean, it was definitely the great sci-fi that came before. I mean, there was a lot of. I love William Gibson. He's probably my favorite sci-fi author. And I did a reread of all of his stuff a couple years ago, just because I just like I just want to see it how it from start to from the beginning to the latest book and how it feels and just kind of revisit all of those. And so his writing is definitely a big influence. Blade Runner and that the I would say Ridley Scott movies probably are big
Yeah.
influence. I mean the Blade Runner and Alien and that kind of lived in and Star Wars too, of course. I mean it's just that lived in science fiction world. There's I think there's a little bit of a shorthand now with that stuff that you can kind of draw from, and I think it helps place readers or whomever pretty quickly in a world that they recognize. And I recently, over the last, I guess, last 2 years, I really finally started reading the Ian Banks culture novels, and just finished the last one. I didn't read them in order. I finished the last of the nine. And those were a big influence, I think, and they were a big influence on Into the Great. Just because I was more thinking about, I've got these sort of omnipotent aliens and what it would feel like to be a human faced with that, kind of these alien beings that, to them were I don't know, a science experiment, and that they're very curious about, and not knowing anything about them, and just kind of just imagining what it would feel like. There was one I can't remember the name of the book, but of the Banks book, but there's one novel in particular that where this culture, I mean this kind of race of aliens is several rungs down on the ladder of technological advancement, and they know that the culture is out there, and they know about these kind of I can't remember if they calls them like elder species, but that the are involved species that kind of take an interest in the maybe in the development of the lower species, and I was really taken by that, by like what it would feel like to be from one of those lesser technologically less advanced species, and seeing what the culture can do and how that would be really mind-blowing and destabilizing, and how you would really want all of that stuff. You'd want to be able to do what they could do.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, like you said here, and you've written, it's a story about choosing a life that you want to live when things are changing. So, what does that mean? Is it just when things are getting out of control, figuring out how to live the life you want, or is there something?
No, it's pretty much that. I mean, it's just trying to figure out, okay, well, what's important to you, and and how do and like I think one of the things that I was thinking about a lot when I was writing this, and thinking about in terms of, and this is less about the story and more about the process. Is that how weird it is to be living in this time where everything's changing really quickly, and you want to just pay attention to all the things that are changing, but you still have to make dinner, and you still have to pay your rent, and you still have to pay all the bills and do your job and all those things, um and doing that is in and of itself is a kind of a choice, and that's really what I was getting at. It's like, okay, well, like you've got these two people, like in the book, there's a lawman and a thief, and not to give anything away, but they make some choices uh for themselves, that about choosing how they want to live their lives despite all the things that are happening around them. And I think that that's kind of important. I mean, I think there's a way, we have to find a way to stay grounded in our daily lives and not neglect them because of all the other bigger things that are happening. And like, you can't neglect them, and you don't also necessarily want to neglect them, because there's things that there's responsibilities that you have, and there's people in your lives that you love and who love you, and you want to be able to, you know, still still have all those good things that come out of that stuff.
Well, speaking of neglected, Trevor. Sorry, because I want to pivot to asking you. We have a few minutes left, just about the industry right now. One of the things that Trevor and I talk about on the show, especially when we're doing our studio shows with people, is sort of surviving in sort of the Hollywood entertainment world. And now everyone I know who's been working on whatever films, TV, whatever it is, it's just awful right now. I'm curious if you could speak to sort of where you see the industry as a whole is, and sort of how it's affected what you're doing and what you're doing next.
And keep in mind that, in the past 3 or 4 weeks, apparently the AAA game, that entire industry has now seems to be the worst out of everybody right now. I mean, that was a titan that seems to be falling and falling fast.
Yeah, there's everything seems to be in free fall right now. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It is. I mean, it's the worst that I've ever seen. I maintain perhaps an irrational optimism that I'll get something going. I'm still developing projects. I'm still hoping that we'll get a second season of the Sisters Grimm to produce. Probably several months away from a decision on that also. And it has been, it's been a pretty disheartening time. I mean, I'll have I'm very lucky. I was like, I'm gonna have 3 things come out this year: this book, the 3rd season of Moriarty on Audible, and then one more TV thing that's been in the can for a while, and that hasn't been announced yet, and so I probably shouldn't announce it here.
No more exclusives.
Less. You're right. You guys get one exclusive.
We get one exclusive.
But like these things, like, are these things earning me money now? No, they're not. And so I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, how do you keep busy creatively, and how do you keep doing the things that are meaningful to you creatively, and while also making some money, and because we have to make a living, and like one of the smartest things I ever did was marry outside of the industry, because my wife is in higher ed, and so we're fairly, not that higher ed doesn't have its own problems, but she's in a fairly secure position, and that has, I mean, honestly, I mean, she makes me being able to stay home and write this possible. And so, but I'm trying to do the things, like I'm using the connections that I have, and like I worked at Amazon for a while. I've been lucky in that I've sold shows to old Amazon colleagues. and Amazon Studios colleagues, and I'm hoping to do it again. And I do think that there is there is a premium on experience, and that is going to become important again. That maybe right now is a little less important, because all the studios now are looking at stuff like back rooms and trying to find the next internet thing. And probably the next thing I launch is going to be an internet thing, just because I can. That's like the friction is low, and I'm trying to. I think with most people I know right now, we're trying to figure out how do you make something in an environment where it feels like nobody on the studio level wants to make a decision about anything, is that everybody's incredibly risk averse. And how do you do it in a time of AI, and where that seems to be, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, it's a little bit of a poison chalice, and how do you do it without using that? And how do you do stuff without asking permission? Like that like these are the kind of the questions that are kind of swirling around in my circles. And so I wrote a book. I was very fortunate to have somebody ask me if I wanted to. I'm not sure that I would have that would have been something that I pursued had I hadn't been asked.
Right.
And so like, since I wrapped my Apple show, like I went back to writing, like, because like you had mentioned, like I had been helping other people facilitate, getting their stories made, and I'm still doing that because I like doing that. I'm good at it, and I get something. I get something out of that. I'm like, in that, whenever I'm working with other people, I learn new things, and learn new ways of doing things. And I think kind of all the projects that I worked on prior to writing Into the Great all helped me be a better writer when I got back to actually writing my own stories. And so yeah, I think, to boil it all down, is just I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and hoping that or perhaps irrationally, that something's going to happen, because I do know how to do this stuff.
Right.
And I think that is I think that it will remain a valuable thing. If not, well, we'll see.
It seems like, just to wrap this up, is like you have the landscape is so unstable.
Yes.
But you have some security at home that allows you to create and to
Yes.
One of the things we've been talking about people for years doing this show is sort of how they sort of maintain their mental health when they're doing something creative, at least the last few years, while you're doing that into a void of an industry that doesn't want anything coming at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is it just that stability, and that's the key, or is there something else that you do to
This I mean, the stability for me is the key. I mean, I think I'd be making, like, I'm finding that I'm having a great time doing this creative stuff, like writing my own stories now, and pursuing those things and finding a way to do them. I mean, like, I'm working on a project. We haven't released any of it yet. We're talking to some people about how we might turn it into an audio project. But if it's not going to be an audio project, it's going to be probably a newsletter or a Patreon or something like that. And it's just me and another friend. We're writing sort of an epistolary sort of back and forth story, and she doesn't know what I'm writing, and I don't know what she's writing, and we're just writing in response to each other, and that's a lot of fun. And we just decided, like, regardless of whether or not this thing becomes an audio thing, we're just going to keep doing it because we're getting something out of it personally. And I do think that is really important part of the creative process, is that you got to do something that is meaningful to you. What's the point? And that's different than working on a project because that y- that you got assigned to, or that you need to. But even then, like, if somebody were to come along and say, hey, we've got this animated project, we want you to be involved with it, we want you to help produce this thing, and it's not something that I, like a work for hire type of deal, I would make that feel like it was my project, because I
Right.
need to find the meaning in it, so that so that you, when you're going and working on it, it doesn't feel like you're just doing it for a paycheck. um,
And that's
I'm
important for
not
everybody,
sure.
right?
Yeah,
That's
I think
important for everyone
so.
to find the meaning for them in whatever it
Yeah,
is that they're doing.
yeah. It's like you want to go, you want to enjoy what you're doing, and it helps you do a better job.
All right, so you've got the book coming out when? So the book's coming out September
Book comes out
2026?
September 1. But as I said earlier, it's available for pre-order right now at lilfac.com, lilfac.com, and there's only 500 of them. So if you're interested, it's probably a good idea to order early and make sure you can get a copy.
I'm gonna
And
scoop one up right now and send it to Trevor for whatever holiday he celebrates. I'm not quite sure.
there
But
you go.
you can...
And then I'll be very pleased to know that it's on his coffee table.
It'll be under his cat. It's under his cat, I'm sure.
My cat will sleep on, but trust me, that's a good thing. She picks good items to sleep on.
All right, excellent.
I know your daughter said for you to do your social media homework. Is there a place for people to follow you?
Yeah, well, I think all of my socials are at elliottblake.com. But if you don't want to go, and you can sign up there. I don't post there very often, but when you do, you can sign up and you'll get an update, a little email update from me saying, hey, I posted. And you can also find me on Instagram at Elliot Blake. It's ELLIOTBLAKE, all one word. And you can also find me on Blue Sky at elliotblake.bsky.social. And there, like on Instagram, I'm mostly about my dog and promoting projects, and but on Blue Sky, it gets a little more political, and also during baseball season, obsessive about the Baltimore Orioles, and so your mileage may vary on where you would like to follow me, but elliottblake.com is a good kind of catch all.
Well, before we leave, I saw that you followed me back on Instagram, so I'm going to take this opportunity to apologize for all the things you're about to see.
Hey, look, it's all good. My Instagram is about to turn into a middle-aged man, doing ASMR videos. My daughter really literally told me, she was like, "Dad, you should do an ASMR video with the book. People love them." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So it's we do what we have to do to survive in the arts.
Just like you
So
just take your book and you do this, and
yeah, exactly. So flip sensuously through the pages. So I don't know. It's a brave new world.
there you go.
We're just living in it.
Your daughter may be onto something, because I remember during the pandemic, there's this character actor who deserves to be a superstar. Her name's Jennifer Ely, great actor, and during the pandemic, every day she would just drive out to the woods, and she would record herself reading a couple chapters of Pride and Prejudice every day. And like the view count just went through the roof. And I mean, your daughter might be onto something. I've seen it around. I've seen it work pretty well. I mean, granted, that is an already established book, but still, I think seeing the author in a realistic and honest setting. I don't know. The words fail me right now, but it could work.
It could. We'll maybe I'll take that under advisement. I don't, I used to joke when I did my podcast, and this was it was an audio only podcast. This was pre-pandemic. I used to joke that I had a voice fit for newsprint. So I don't know that how many people want to actually listen, but anything's worth a try. Got to move some books.
Maybe your daughter reads it.
Yeah,
maybe she's way more appealing.
All right, Elliot, thanks so much for joining us. And Trevor,
Elliot, thank
go
you.
back to bed.
And I wish you, seriously wish you all the best with your book. I really enjoyed listening to you. You're a great guy. All the best.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks for having me. I really enjoyed this. This was great.
That's it for this away mission. Thanks to our guest and to all of you for watching and listening. Please subscribe on all the platforms, and you can email us at nowin-scenariopodcast@gmail.com. Trevor will return, I promise you. But in the meantime, I think we're thriving just fine without his supervision and snark. See you next time.